this story. Chaos erupted during the City of Johannesburg's tender briefing. Members of the company Trans stormed the meeting to air their grievances. They say they were promised that they would be owning the Rea Vaya buses that are running between Soweto and Johannesburg, but the City of Johannesburg is now issuing a new tender. eNCA's reporter Nqobile Madlala was there and is joining us now in studio. Welcome back, Nqobile, to the studios. Thanks for joining us on today. So what happened here? Just tell us. How did we get here? What are they saying? What's happening?
Well, but Dan, from what they're explaining to us is that 12 years ago, they were asked to come into the bus industry. They moved from the taxi industry into the busing industry. And they spoke to the city, and there was a contract that was signed. Now, that 12 years end in January, and the city's agreement back then was that after 12 years, most of these people will now own these buses, and they'll renew the contract, and that's where they will make their money. So essentially, for this 12 years, they were servicing a debt to the city, as well as in terms of the buses. Now they have these buses that nobody can put on the road besides be on the Rea Vaya line. There's quite a number of things that are different about these buses, so they can't even take them back to the road and use them. So they have these buses. Now they're saying that they're hearing that the city has a new tender that is out, and they're saying, and that's when they went to the briefing.
The new tender is to look for a new operator or what?
Essentially, they're finding a new company that's going to come in. And now this company is basically made up of previous taxi owners that were asked to hand in their taxis, as well as
this is Trans.
Yes, yeah. As well as their permits. So they're no longer in the taxi industry, and now they're being taken out of the bus industry, and exactly that's how they feel. And so they stormed in to say that the briefing cannot carry on because they still want to make money out of this. And of course, if they had taxis, this would be a lifetime thing. But now because it's buses and they're being taken out of it, it means...
And it's for a particular route, the Rea Vaya route with the Rea Vaya stations. You can't use it anywhere else.
Exactly, Bradan. So these are the issues that they've highlighted, and they're saying that none of this was communicated to them. So they're saying the city did not speak to them, they didn't tell them anything, they were supposed to give them some time to also explain. So now they're very angry. I mean, you would be also if you are losing your income, and so they're worried also in terms of what happens in February. I mean, some of them were talking about the fact that this was not an easy change. They were in the taxi industry. There were a lot of wars that came after that, or the fights that they had to fight.
I recall, I mean, when Rea Vaya was being announced that the Joburg City and the Gauteng MEC for transport at the time, Mr. Ismail Vadi and them, they had to get involved those years with the taxi industry to keep the peace. And part of the deal, I recall, is what you are saying now, that we were promised we'll be owners of these buses after some time.
And yeah, but then they have scars from what happened back then. I mean, we were speaking to some of the people, and I mean, one particular gentleman told us that he lost his entire family. There was a lot that happened. Some of them are saying now we have kids that needs to continue the legacy, and the legacy is now gone. So those are the major issues that they're highlighting. But of course now we're seeing we're seeing Andile Peter coming in, and he's saying that what's happening in Johannesburg is not only happening in Johannesburg, it's also happening in Cape Town. So he's saying it needs to be stopped here, and he's calling for the minister to even come in and say maybe the minister can come up with ideas in terms of how can they go forward. But they're saying that they're not going to take this lightly, Bradan. They're not going to take this lightly. They're even saying that they're probably going to take them to court, and they're saying they are looking into doing that. And they're saying that, I mean, they were talking amongst each other and saying nobody will sleep until they have found the answers that they're looking to get from the City of Johannesburg. But what was interesting is that the people that were in the meeting as Johannesburg officials actually responded saying that no, they're ready. So if somebody takes them to court, they can go right ahead and do it. So it was quite interesting to see.
So there's a big legal fight looming. But you spoke to Andile Peter, for example?
Yes, we did. And he did also highlight that these issues are one that have been ongoing for quite some time. They're going to make sure that it doesn't happen. It stops in Johannesburg, so it doesn't happen in Cape Town. Let's listen in.
All we are pleading from our government is to reconsider how the process was started when our people gave everything that they have, the permits and the taxes, and they were introducing the PRT as a part of economic transformation agenda. Now, after 12 years, our people are being told that we are going to put this thing on tender because the legislations said so. All we want from government is to review the legislation itself. And number two is to make sure that there is a performance evaluation in terms of the 12-year contract, whether the City of Johannesburg, they were able to adhere to the financial spin-offs that were there in order for the people's life to be better. We are saying to government, let's sit around the table, park the issue of the tender aside, considering that within these 12 years, Section 37 of the Constitution was invoked in terms of the Disaster Management Act. Now we are saying, contrary to implementing the Section 41 of 2009 NTLA, consider Chapter 2 of the Bill of Rights. Consider Section 36 of the Constitution that protects the rights of those men and women that will be stranded on the 1st of February 2023.
Thank you very much to Nqobile Madlala with that update. It's going to be very interesting to see how the City of Joburg navigates this one going forward.